Cubs front office, do not trade for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Do not get sucked into the idea of Mason Miller pitching at Wrigley Field in the 9th inning. The Cubs are not buyers in 2024, but that doesn't mean that we have to be sellers either.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Let me explain. I know you want Tom Ricketts to bust out the checkbook, but it's very clear that's not how he operates. And I know you want to win right now, so do I, but this team wasn't built to win in 2024. They were built to not lose. There's a huge difference there. The plan of great defense up the middle and experiments at the corner infield positions has already been shaky, but add on top of that the underwhelming performances from your top paid guys, a complete absence of timely hitting, fake rallies, and a lack of lockdown bullpen arms. There's really not much hope that this team has what it takes to win in 2024. But with the new playoff system, below 500 teams, including the Cubs, feel like there's a chance. So even with a mediocre club, there is still temptation to buy. The 2023 Diamondbacks are the perfect example. 84 wins, a third playoff spot, and they made it to the World Series. If the Cubs bought at the trade deadline, yes, they could very well be an 84 to maybe even 88 win team and claim the second or third wildcard spot. But at what cost? It took a while, but the Cubs farm system is finally absolutely loaded. The last thing we want to see is another Dylan Cease shipped out for an average pitcher or position player, and that's the risk you run by buying during uncertain times. Now, I can only predict so much on the prospect front because prospects are prospects until they produce at the MLB level. We didn't know Anthony Rizzo was going to be the face of the Cubs until really the third or the fourth year of wearing the blue pinstripes, but we can look at the facts and what this team will need in 2025 and beyond. So let's assume for a second that the Cubs do decide to buy at the deadline in 2024. I'm going to take a look at the past and what we can learn from that in order to look at the future.
Marty! You've got to come back with me!
Where?
Back to the future!
Let's take a look at the most memorable 3 recent trades. In 2023, the Cubs bought 1 rental and 1 dud in Jeimer Candelario and Jose Cuas. They sent Nelson Velazquez to the Royals, and they also sent left-handed pitcher DJ Herz and shortstop Kevin Made to the Nationals. Both are now top 20 prospects in the National system. Candelario had a pretty moderate slash line in a measly 41 games and couldn't help the Cubs make the playoffs, and Jose Cuas has been a total bust in 2024. So no matter what comes of Velazquez, Herz, or Made, both of these trades don't look like they worked out for the Cubs. Then in 2024, Chicago sent Jackson Ferris and Zaire Hope to the Dodgers for Michael Busch and Yency Almonte. This trade particularly is going to take some time to shine the true light on Jed and Carter's decision-making, but so far Michael Busch has been a roller coaster at the plate, and Yency Almonte, before a long IL stint, was also a bit of a roller coaster from the bullpen. Meanwhile, Jackson Ferris is now number 6 on the Dodgers' top prospect list, and Zaire Hope is at number 20. Now, you can look at all of these trades and shake your heads in the next 2 to 3 years if any of these players become stars, but in the short term, these moves actually didn't really hurt the Cubs. Nelson Velazquez was getting no playing time, and the Cubs needed bullpen help. Candelario filled a huge hole for the Cubs at third base, and DJ Herz and Kevin Made were nowhere near MLB ready. Michael Busch for the first month of the season looked like the second coming of Anthony Rizzo, and once again, Ferris and Hope were nowhere near MLB ready. Plus, they shipped off players from positions that the Cubs had crowded situations: outfield, shortstop, and starting pitching. But, and it's a big but, during those times, it was believed that this team was built to win now. Now, it's a different story. So based on these past trades, let's look into the future. Here are some names that have been floating around for the Cubs as of late. Let's start with Vlad Guerrero Jr. Ooh, this is tempting. A Gold Glove first baseman, 3-time All-Star, Silver Slugger, and a runner-up MVP in 2021. But look at the Vlad Jr. you're getting from the past 2 seasons. His OPS, moderate .795 here in 2024, and only 7 home runs. Last year, his OPS was .788. He was only a 2.6 WAR player in 2023. I say only because comparatively, that would have ranked 6th highest for position players for the Cubs in 2023. He would have been behind Bellinger, Horner, Swanson, Happ, and Suzuki. His WAR this year would rank first among position players for the Cubs at 1.5, but must I remind you that this team is currently filled with a roster of underperforming bodies. Mike Tauchman and Nico Horner currently lead the team at a 1.2 WAR. Really, since his monster 48 home runs, 6.4 WAR 2021 season, it hasn't been been all that impressive. His OPS has hovered around the high 700s, his slug wouldn't rank in the top 3 on the current Cubs roster, his on-base percentage and average have been solid, but do we really want to give up top prospects for a guy that wouldn't be an obvious star on a team that is already lacking stars? And don't let his glove fool you, that was merely a popularity contest. He has been a negative WAR defensive player in every single season in the major leagues, even his Gold Glove season. And let's compare his numbers to Bellinger in each of the last 2 seasons. They're pretty much on the same plane. Bellinger's are actually better because of the 2023 season, and let's be honest, no one is going to pay Cody Bellinger more than $25 million in each of the next 2 seasons like the Cubs are committed to do based on an OPS that's hovering under 800. So choke down Bellinger's contract, put him at first base, keep your prospects, and ignore the quote-unquote opportunity for Vlad. It would only create more of a logjam and just an average middle-of-the-order bat. Many of you probably are not going to agree with me on this one, but most of baseball players are paid for what they've already accomplished. Don't fall into that same trap. The Jays will want a hefty price tag for Vlad, who by all accounts is past his best years. No, I'm not saying he's a bad player, but no 25-year-old should have that sharp of declining numbers while healthy, and it makes no sense to give the Jays a return for a superstar if you're not getting a superstar. My vote, put PCA in center full-time, Bellinger at first full-time, and also call up Alexander Canario to battle it out or platoon with Bush at DH. Next up, Mason Miller, a lockdown closer. 2.12 ERA, 55 strikeouts in 29 2/3 innings, 25 years old, and he would have a ton of team control. Oh, by the way, we'd have to give up multiple top prospects and hold our breath that he wouldn't have a season-ending injury as he has had in each of the last 2 years. The rumors around the trade, according to Bleacher Report, have included names like Owen Casey, Matt Shaw, Kevin Alcantara, and Jefferson Rojas, all of which are in the Cubs' top 10 prospects, and aside from Rojas, all should make their major league debuts by the next year at the latest. But another quick reminder, you have to have a lead to earn a save, and this team hasn't had many leads in the last month plus, so instead of getting a premier closer for a pretty penny and only pitching him in tie games, save your prospects. See what they can do for 2024 and 2025. You're especially going to want an outfielder in your system in the next 2 years. Next, Jesus Luzardo, left-handed starter for the Marlins. As soon as I said next on this one, I was already thinking next. 5.30 ERA, and in his best season in 2023, he was still no better than a number 2 starter. Sure, he's only 26 years old and has 2 more years of team control, but the Marlins need to restock their farm system in the worst way possible. They aren't going to give away Luzardo without asking for a number of top prospects in return. Plus, have you been watching the Cubs this year? A stud left-handed pitcher is not needed. Thank you, Shota Imanaga, for filling that role. Justin Steele is starting to come back to his top-of-the-rotation form, and Jordan Wicks is expected to be a big part of the Cubs' rotation for the next few years. That's 3 left-handed starters, more than enough. So like I said, next. And lastly, Elias Diaz. Now, this one actually makes a lot of sense. Miguel Amaya, while his bat has been better of late, can't throw out a runner to save his life, and has had some major receiving issues in big parts of games this year. Yan Gomes, well, he looks like a 36-year-old catcher. So Diaz, who is batting over 300 with a 791 OPS and a 1.3 WAR, would automatically become the best position player on the team from an OPS and WAR standpoint and would fill a huge void. Not to mention he's thrown out 30% of would-be base stealers this year, and I would assume the Cubs wouldn't have to give up a lot given his age of 33 years old, and he did have to leave a game early on June 10th with a strained calf issue. Now, like the Marlins, the Rockies farm system is bad, so they will want some talent. But if you could package a guy like Matt Mervis and or Brennan Davis and offload Drew Smyly while probably having to keep most of his contract on your payroll, you might have a deal. Mervis has really never gotten a true shot on this team due to the desire to win now. Davis still has a ton of potential, but where does he really fit into this outfield picture? And the Rockies always need more pitching. I'm not saying all 3 of those guys, but maybe. There just doesn't seem to be any room for any of them on this team, and likely the Rockies would value these guys more than the Cubs. But if you do this, it needs to be like the Tyler Glasnow trade to the Dodgers. The Cubs would need to lock down an extension for at least a year with Diaz. A rental catcher does nothing good for the long term of this team, as Moises Ballesteros, the Cubs minor league player of the year in 2023, is not expected to make his catching debut until 2026. So with no clear starting catcher for 2025, that would be a must in this deal. Okay, now to the selling side. This is pretty simple. My goal here is to show you how we can remove roadblocks and develop players now, or at least give us a chance to figure out if they are truly MLB worthy. By doing this, we shorten the gap between now and the next true winning window. So when we picture the next World Series window in an ideal world, I'll call it 2026, 2027, who on the current roster do you still see being part of that team? Better question, who do you not see on that team? I've made a list of likely names who will not be on the team when the winning window is fully off the hinges. The ones that feel like guarantees, probably all of the older guys in the bullpen, Leiter, Neris, Hendricks, Smiley. I can't imagine Jameson Taillon being in the rotation, especially if Ben Brown and Cade Horton are doing everything they can to push out some of the loose ends. On the infield, Patrick Wisdom and David Bodie are the most likely to be gone by then. Dansby will surely still be around. Horner, Morel, and Bush, too soon to tell. And in the outfield, I don't imagine Tauchman will still be here, and my best guess is I'd expect 2 of the 3 current outfielders would be gone by some point in 2026. My best guess, Ian Happ and Cody Bellinger. So now I'll ask, which of these players is tradable here in 2024? Happ and Bellinger, not likely, neither are playing up to their contracts. Taillon, same situation. Smiley and Hendricks, not unless you're eating that contract for the suitor. Tauchman, yes, very tradable. Bullpen, Leiter and Neris, absolutely. So what contender needs a third outfielder and 2 back of the bullpen arms right now and has what we want? A legitimate third baseman, catcher, and or a bullpen arm with some team control. Well, I did the research on that. There's absolutely no legitimacy to any of these, so don't go starting rumors, but here's what I think. The Cubs and Mariners have completed a number of trades in the most recent years, especially Tyson Miller this season, so let's start there. The Mariners have major offensive issues, especially in the outfield. All 3 of their outfielders are having below average seasons, so a Mike Tauchman on the playoff-bound team would be a considerable boost. And Seattle has exceptional arms. No, I'm not talking about Logan Gilbert, Bryce Miller, or George Kirby. Mike Tauchman would not command that kind of return. But they do have a reliable left-handed pitcher in Taylor Saucedo that still has 3 years of team control, and a dependable left-handed pitcher out of the bullpen is exactly what the Cubs need. Plus, the Mariners would also have 2 more years of control over Tauchman. If that's too much of an ask for the Cubs, another option might be Gabe Speier. He's not having a great season and he's currently on the IL, but the left-handed reliever was a reliable part of the 2023 Mariners bullpen and has another 3 years of team control. It's possible if the Cubs get Speier, they could command another prospect in the trade given the current value of Tauchman. Next up, how about the Royals? One of the best teams in baseball, but they're 20th in bullpen ERA. I've got it. How about Jose Cuas for Bobby Witt Jr. straight up? You guys miss Jose, right? Okay, no, but they do have an intriguing catcher in Freddie Fermin. Fermin is 29, but only in his 2nd full year of Major League service, and because Salvador Perez is still playing like he's in his prime, Fermin is the backup catcher. He's only played in 37 games this year, but check out these numbers. 1.3 WAR, 294 batting average, 718 OPS is serviceable, but last year was 781, and most importantly, he's thrown out 50% of attempted base stealers. A veteran reliever in Neris could be a huge lift to a team that desperately needs more relief options. Leiter is also an option as they only have 1 reliable lefty in the bullpen, and Leiter has always been better at neutralizing lefties. And this shouldn't be too tough of a decision for the Royals as 2 of their top 10 prospects are catchers, including their number 1 prospect overall. In the short term, they might need a catcher in return, and for that, I say take your pick of Yan Gomes, Miguel Amaya, or Bryce Winnan. Lastly, the Padres. Oh, how the Padres love to make irrational trades just to keep their team relevant. Well, we've got one for you, San Diego. The Padres have a middle-of-the-pack bullpen and 2 starting pitchers that should be back in July. That means their number 5 prospect, Adam Mazur, will likely be headed back to AAA or the bullpen. After a fabulous Major League debut, Mazur was touched up for 8 runs in 3 innings against the Diamondbacks. The rookie has sped through the minors after being drafted in the 2nd round in 2022. Mazur has a mid-90s fastball, a legit slider, and incredible control. In 147 minor league innings, Mazur has struck out 140 batters and walked only 26. That's over a 5-to-1 K-to-walk ratio. I know this is a long shot, but again, the Padres are great at making wild trades. So I would send Neris, Leiter, and Tauchman to the Padres for Mazur and 1 other prospect. The tall righty gives the Cubs another legitimate up-and-coming arm that can battle for the rotation or be a potential late-innings reliever for years to come. So what do you think? Am I crazy? Do I need to go see a shrink? Or do you like this plan? Let me know down in the comments. Also, make sure you check out my meetup with Nico Horner. I played a game of cornhole with him. The video is down in the description.